So now with that being said, is a chicken plucker worth building? Well, good morning, guys. Today we're about to test out my homemade chicken plucker here. I got 4 of my Bresse roosters, which are now 16.5 weeks old. And for the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've been feeding them chopped corn soaked in milk, which I just was using powdered milk. I wasn't buying no whole milk. They say use whole milk, but we're gonna see what they taste like and look like fattened up on powdered milk. So I got in there and I've been wanting a chicken plucker, and I built the quail plucker. If you ain't never seen that video, I'll attach it above or either at the end of this video and you can go watch it. Because I showed actually a video of building it. But I gave up on waiting for a chicken plucker to fall in my hands, or didn't want to buy one. So I was laying in the bed one night and I said, you know, I think I got everything I need to build a chicken plucker except for the plucker fingers. Now, I ordered them off Amazon. I actually ordered 150 of them, and I think my setup here has got like 96 if I remember right, or barely over 100. But I'm gonna get y'all up here close in a moment and look at it. But I had this old dolly, and this old dolly been around for years. I actually used it as a trailer behind my lawnmower and had my 15-gallon sprayer on it for years. Well, now my 15-gallon sprayer is rigged up where it hooks and unhooked to my lawnmower in the hitch on back of it. I said, well, I want to build mine on the dolly. Now, there's a lot of videos on YouTube of building these. They kind of on the whiz-bang principles, but a lot of people build them different ways. One thing, I did not want no wood at all. I want something, when I build something, I'm not that concerned with the looks. I want something that's going to last long term. So I had the 50-gallon barrel. I don't know if it's 50-gallon or 55-gallon drum. I think that's a 55-gallon drum. I had that. I had a piece of aluminum for the spinner plate down here in the bottom. We'll look at it in a moment. I had this old motor. Originally, that motor right there, guys, was off of a air compressor. And that thing's probably 40 years old. But then I had it on a homemade tumbler when I done taxidermy work. So I had the motor. Actually had the pulleys that was on my homemade tumbler. I'm using a 14-inch pulley and a 1-inch drive pulley. Now the belt, after I got this all built, my belt that was on the tumbler was 1 inch short. So I did end up going to AutoZone and buying a belt that fit it perfect for $12. So I guess the only thing I purchased that I didn't already have was the belt and the fingers. So I got somewhere around $75 in this. Now you may wonder, why is the color, how did I come up with this color for a chicken plucker? Well, the blue paint I had left over from when I done my little mini ATV build for coating. I painted all the plastics this color blue. And I had almost a whole can of blue paint left. The yellow, that was a little bitty piece of spray can left that I'd had when we built the yellow go-kart. And while I was at AutoZone, I said I need to pick me up a can of black paint to paint my dolly and where I would do my welding and stuff. Well, I don't know if y'all seen the price of paint lately, but it's high. Well, they had this camo green on clearance there. I think it was like $5 for a can of it instead of $12. I said, well, camo green's fine with me for a chicken plucker, so that's how we come up with the colors. But I'm gonna get y'all over here close and, like I said, show you. There's other videos. It's hard for me to do a video on building something like this because I started this just out of the spur of the moment one morning. Worked on parts of it. That evening done a little more. Next day done a little more. Ordered my fingers. Painted it. And I just done a little bit at a time, so I didn't video it. But like I said, now if you'll go back and watch that video on building my quail pluckers, kind of the same principle. I also put a power switch right here. So when I plug it up, all I gotta do is turn it on and off. And it's all built out of metal. So let me get y'all over here close and show y'all this. And then we're gonna test her out on one of my Bresse roosters. There's what she looks like in the inside. And guys, I didn't try to follow no pattern that they use on the whiz bang pluckers or nothing. I just basically, that aluminum plate there is 20.5 inch diameter. I stepped in there about 1 3/4, made a circle around it, stepped in I think another 2.5 and another 2.5, and put my pluckers around it. That's what she looks like on the inside. Now down here on the bottom, I'm gonna lay it down right now for y'all to see. But down here on the bottom, I have some pieces of 4-inch C-channel, and that's what I used, and I welded it to this frame. And by doing that, see, I got a cross piece in my frame here, and that's 4 inches apart. So therefore I have my pillow bearing bolted onto that frame on the bottom and bolted on this frame on the top. You'll see this one through the chute in there maybe. I don't know if y'all can see, it's dark in there. But it's bolted right there with the shaft going through it. 14-inch pulley driven by a 1-inch pulley. And guys, if you're ever building anything, there's apps nowadays that I went in there, I had a 14-inch pulley, a 1-inch dry pulley, and you measure from the center of this shaft to the center of that shaft, and it'll tell you the exact length of belt you need. And when I punched that in on AutoZone, they had that belt exactly that length, which worked out perfect for me. When I was building this, I was thinking the belt I had was going to be close, but I was hoping if anything it was going to be a little big. And I already had me an idea how I was going to put up a tensioner idler pulley that you see some people having to do. But since my belt didn't work and I had to buy one, I bought one that the exact fit to where I ain't got to do that. Now the chute I cut in the bottom of the barrel, this plastic here is part of where I cut the barrel off, because it ain't no sense in having the barrel the height it was. So when I cut my opening in there, I cut it a little big. So then I come back and I made me a shield, and I made me a chute right here, and that's all out of that plastic that was cut off of that barrel. You could take a heat gun and heat this plastic, and you can shape it any way you want. So that's not going to be metal or nothing, that's plastic. It'll be there for a lifetime. Now, if some reason the feathers don't come out good and I need this a little bigger, all I got to do is take this top piece right here off and cut it out a little bit bigger. But I'm going with this for the first try to see how she does. Now, I did end up, even though it stood up well, I ended up putting some support legs sticking out here on each side, because I don't want when the chicken starts bouncing around it act like it wants to fall over on me. On the back, the motor's bolted straight to this 4-inch seat purling. Now what you see right there is silicone. That's actually a tin top right there off of a popcorn can, because the top of the motor, I didn't want no water dripping and going right down into the motor. Now it ain't gonna be splashing no water or nothing out like that, but I just didn't want, when I'm spraying water in there, or no water to drop straight into my motor. So you can see it's good heavy duty built. This bracket right here on the back of the dolly, 2 little bolts hold the tub good and tight, plus it's got the bottom bolted through that center beam I put through there to put that other pillow bearing on. Put me an on and off switch. Now one thing I didn't do that some do, some of them put a tube around top so it squirt water in here while you're plucking your chickens. And guys, the reason I didn't do that is because that's nice to have that, but then you need 2 water hoses. I'd have to have 1 water hose run around here and hook to my plucker, and then I would need another water hose running around here, because you're going to be plucking chickens. You need a water hose to keep sprayed down and cleaned up with. Well, to me, I didn't see no sense in that when you can have 1 water hose hanging here when you're plucking your chickens, spraying it good, and then when you need it right over at your table, you just got your 1 water hose. Now I guess if you're doing this on a big scale where you had a bunch of people helping you and you plucking chickens and somebody else is processing them, all of that, they might would need water over there while you would need water over here plucking. But I'm a 1-man operation, show them just about everything I do, so I didn't see no sense in putting a ring around it. But that would be easily to do with some pipe. Wouldn't be to do that. The aluminum plate I used in the inside is approximately 3/16 thick, guys. And the most aggravating part of this whole thing, I didn't have but 1 3/4 inch, and it was one of them step bits. And it wasn't a high quality one. So the biggest, hardest thing I done was drilling all them holes in that plate. Now if you had a good quality step bit, or a good 3/4 inch bit, that wouldn't have been that big a deal. And it still wasn't that big a deal. It just took a while doing that. I'd drill like 10 holes. I'd go do something else, come back by, drill about 10 holes. That way my drill didn't get too hot. The bit wasn't getting too hot. And then drilling it through these plastic wasn't no trouble. And I'm gonna give you another tip. If you ever build one, when you build one thing, you can take some Dawn dishwashing detergent and put around the end of that plucker finger there, and that'll help it slide right in that hole. And guys, when I say slide right in that hole, I don't mean they just pull right in there real easy. You got to pull and wiggle them and work them. But one of the things I found, I had some of this. It's called Blaster silicone lubricant. It's made for rubber and stuff. I'd spray a little bit of that on the end of it, stick it in there, and that helped it come on and pop in place a lot easier. Now I know I seen on YouTube you can build a little homemade deal that puts in there to help pulls them in, but I done all these by hand. And by the time I got done, I'd do a few at a time, then I'd go do something else. I did have a blister on my hand. I should have had a glove on, but I was just grabbing them, pulling them. Your hand gets sweaty, and you will get a blister. But that silicone lubricant helped make it a little bit easier. So right now, guys, we're gonna get it scooted over here in position. Sun's starting to come up over my shed back here. That's when I got this umbrella. Guys, that umbrella I move all around everywhere. Especially this time of the year after the sun's done coming more out of the south than it is to straight east. It seems like everywhere I want to do a video is shining bright right on me. Now I'm gonna go get the rooster and I'm gonna put him in my cone. And guys, you ain't gotta buy a cone, a chicken cone, to kill him with. That there is nothing more than just an orange road cone. I kind of sawed the top, cut it off, ready to set the chicken down in it. And that's rubber. That cone's actually about 30 years old itself. Not meaning I've been using it for chickens 30 years old, but I've had it around for about 30 years. Actually, I had these cones, I carried them with me when I was working. I had two cones. When you parked on the side of the road, I'd kind of set one in front and back of my vehicle there, you know, kind of help get attention maybe. Don't get nobody's attention nowadays, but anyway, I called one of them Jeffro and I called the other Bodine. I'd get out of my truck every morning, I'd set them down. I said, all right, Jeffro, you and Bodine got to watch my truck this morning. Don't let nobody run over it. Well, I don't know if this is Jeffro or this is Bodine, so I guess we'd just call this here Jeffro Bodine. So Jeffro Bodine, you gonna be my chicken holder for me. Alright guys, I'm ready for the true test. Go get me a chicken. Once I dispatch it, get it ready. I already got my water over there to 150 degrees. Now, just like with the quail plucking, if you ain't never scalded a chicken, there's a timeline there in the water temperature. You need to get it where the feathers come out pretty easy, but yet you don't want to over scald it because it'll start cooking your skin even in 150 degree water. So the first one is kind of gonna be figuring that out for me. The quails, I done them enough. I had them pretty down to pat what I could, how long to dip them in the water, how many seconds to leave them in there. But let me go get the roosters and get this little show on the road. I'm anxious to see if this is gonna work good as my quail plucker did. Now guys, when I asked these roosters for a volunteer this morning, didn't none of them want to volunteer. But this is the American Bresse rooster, 16 and a half weeks old. After I do the deed here, I'm finna weigh him and see what he weighs. So as you can see guys, the cone does a very good job. You ain't gotta buy them killing cones if you don't want to. Now I'm finna weigh this rooster right here, and I'm using my fishing scale. It reads in pounds and ounces. That rooster didn't weigh as much as they ought to weigh, I don't think. That's 5 pounds and 11 ounces on a 16 and a half. Actually, he's 2 days older. Actually, he's 2 days over 16 weeks old. 5 pounds, well, it's jumping from 11 to 12. Now it's staying on 12. Now, I tested this scale right here the other day against the round digital scale, and they weighed something. I was weighing like 2 pounds and about right at 3 pounds, and they both read the exact same. 5 pounds 11 ounces is what we're gonna call him. Occasionally it'll jump to 12, but I was hoping he was 6 pounds. But like I said, I'm doing this at 16 weeks and not 18 weeks. Main reason is because I can't wait to try out my plucker. So now we've finna scald him in here. Before I ever set up this morning, I got my water heated to 150 degrees, and right now it's showing 149. Like I said, now this is the part where you got to get your timing down Not overdo it, but do it enough. Now I'm gonna just take a little board right here and push him down in the water. Then I'm gonna pull him up. I'm gonna do a little feather pull test. That ain't nearby long enough. See guys, his wing feathers ain't wanting to release. They starting to release, but they ain't released enough yet. So I'm gonna dunk him down in there a little bit more. I see some people use water a little hotter than 150 degrees. But the 150 degrees seems to work good on my quills. So I said that's what I'm gonna do on my chickens. Alright guys, this is gonna be the first one. I don't know if it's good enough. Like I said, I've only done this once before, other than my quails. So we finna take him over here and stick him in the plucker. Alright, here it goes guys. Alright guys, so y'all seen my chicken plucker ain't working so well. Now yeah, it got the chicken plucked, but the bird, I think I'm gonna have to come in here and add another plucker finger down here low, because it's like it's letting him get over there up under these other plucker fingers. It's got a gap where I didn't put 3 here. Letting the bird get in there, so I didn't get my gap close enough. So what I'm finna do is gut this bird. You can see he just got very little feathers on him, but I had to hold him by the neck and kind of let him flop around in there to keep him from getting hung up, choking the motor down. Now my motor may not be old as that motor is. If it was a new motor and had the power, it might be fine, but I think I can fix it by putting me some more fingers right there. I'm gonna gut this bird, get him in the ice box, and then we're gonna come back, it may be this afternoon, continue this little project. Guys, if chickens run around like that, that'd be an ugly bird in your yard, wouldn't it? But I think I'm close. We just need to make a little adjustments here. And I'll be back with y'all. But yes, after I gut this bird, I'm gonna wait. Well, I was shooting for, like I said, I was hoping 6 pounds live weight, 4 pounds skint chicken, and I got 3 pounds 10 ounces. Maybe that powdered milk didn't put enough weight on him. So now I gotta go work on add some more plucker fingers to my plucker before I continue on. I'll put this in some water. Well, there, guys, it's jumping 310, 311. I'm gonna call it 310. There it goes back to 310. Okay, guys, I made some quick modifications here. I added some more fingers around the bottom, but I'm thinking, and hopefully, where I put the fingers in the bottom of the plate to go through the bottom to wipe under there to keep the feathers out. I remember when I done that, I was thinking I probably should drill some more holes for them because it left a big space at the top, and I think that's where the chicken's wanting to fall in that hole and get hung up. So I drilled some more holes in the plate, added some more fingers. We're gonna give her another try. Now I'm finna weigh this bird here and see what it weighs. It ought to weigh more than the first one. Yeah, now this is what I was looking for at 16 weeks. 6 pounds 4 ounces. That's more like what the weight I was looking for these birds to be. Well, it changed to 6 pounds 3 ounces, so I'm gonna call it 6 pounds 3 ounces. So now we're finna go give this one a hot bath. Now I had to heat my water back up after doing all that, but I done got it heated back up to 150 degrees. So I ain't timed this, guys, but I'm saying I'm dipping this for about a minute. The tail feathers is starting to turn loose right now. Maybe slightly over a minute. So now we're ready to go try round 2 on the plucker. Round 2 coming up. That worked a lot better, guys. Alright, guys, that worked a lot better. I soaked this chicken in the water, I'm gonna say about probably a minute and a half, 150 degrees. And look how clean it come out. That did help putting them extra fingers in there, but I do think my motor, as old as it is a little on the weak side. But it done great. I think, like I said, I think that motor's big enough, because I don't even know what size it is. You can't even read on the plate or nothing. But I think the motor is a little weak, because y'all seen I was having to hold it to keep its head from getting it hung up. Now something I'm going to try on the next one is cut the head off before I put it in the plucker, because that's how I do my quills in the quill plucker. I cut their heads off before I do them. So the third one I'm going to cut his head off and we're going to give it a go. Right now I'm finna gut this one out and get it over there in the cold water. Now a lot of people save them feet, boil them to make chicken broth. I ain't that desperate yet. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But I just ain't gonna do it. Guys, I done a better job dressing out the first one than I did this one. Make sure you get them lungs out of there. There they are. That's one thing right there. You would think you got it cleaned out, but you really get to feeling deep down in there on them rib cage, you'll find them lungs. So it ought to be good and clean now. Now let's weigh this one and see what he weighs. Now that was more like what I'm looking for. 4 pounds as it's going from 4 to 4 pounds 1 ounce. 4 pounds 1 ounce. That's staying on 4 pounds 1 ounce. And that's what I was shooting for myself. Is trying to get 4 pounds. And it's got enough fat in there that it ain't overly fat. But that's a pretty chicken. Now let's move on to chicken number 3. Alright guys, here we go for round 3. This one here weighed 5 pounds 15 ounces. Well guys, it plucked them clean, and even though I have to hold on to the leg, it's still way easier than doing it with your hands. But I think my motor's just a little on the weak side, because if you let the chicken all the way down in there, when its legs start getting up in them pluckers, it chokes the motor down. So I'm thinking my motor, as old as it is, like I said 30 years old. That motor may be older than 30 years old. Because I remember where it came from off an old air compressor. And I've done had it 14 or 15 years myself. But anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to stop at 3 right here today. I got one more out there, and I think I'm going to keep feeding him that corn soaked in that powdered milk for 2 more weeks and see what the difference is on weight. Like I said, this one here weighed 5 pounds 15 ounces. Now, of course, these are my coils, and they coil for a reason. This is my first to get started on doing this, but I'm hoping next year to hatch out silver chickens to put in the freezer to eat. That's why I converted over to these Bresse chickens. But I will tell you, And I'm thinking about it. I might do it. I don't know. Going out there and getting one of them 3-year-old Rhode Island Reds and pluck it and let you see the difference of how poor looking them birds look. And this one here ain't the best looking. He's kind of losing this meat down here toward the end. But anyway, that's what I got. Well guys, this third one here weighed 4 pounds 3 ounces after gutting him. But look at the fat. Look at the fat inside that chicken. So I think the corn chops with the powdered milk is helping some. It may not be as good as whole milk. I need to do a little more trimming right here up on the neck. It may not be as good as whole milk, but when you can get the powdered milk free, I didn't see no sense in not giving it a try. So there you go. I'm gonna go put it in the ice chest. Alright guys, it's the next morning. I took that video in last night and I was editing it, and I got to noticing when I was watching it, every time this motor got choked completely down, it was because a leg or the head had done got over there between the barrel and the plate in there. Now yes, the motor is weak, but it seemed like when it got choked down every time, the leg or the head was hung up between the plate and the wall. So I got up this morning and I done the deed on a little hen here. She don't weigh but 4 pounds and 4 ounces, so it ain't gonna be a eater. Plus she's getting about close to 3 years old. But we're gonna try this again. Now what I did, I come in and I put another whole row of fingers right on top of that plate. And then I had to cut them off so they wouldn't stick out and hit the other fingers. And let me show you what I'm talking about. Now my plate's 20.5, and the gap's probably about a 1/2 inch. But in some places, yesterday it wasn't centered up like right there. That's getting about 3/4 of an inch gap, because this is a plastic barrel, so I guess it's lost some of its shape. But anyway, I put a whole row of fingers, pull these back so you can see them all the way around, but then I cut them off so these fingers here wouldn't hit it. And I'm gonna see if that'll keep the legs, wings, or head from going over there and getting jammed up. So hopefully that, guys, helps the situation. Plus I undone my 2 bolts that I had here on the barrel. Kind of shifted my barrel to get it more equally spaced around the plate, because like I said, I guess this barrel being plastic so old, it's kind of out around. And when I bolted it through the bottom with that pillar block, it had it in a little bit of bind. But by undoing these bolts on the side and kind of shifting it and squeezing it and then holding it and putting bolts back in there, I think I got my gap pretty equal now. So I'm finna scald this bird, and we're gonna see what happens today. Here we go, guys. Test number 4. So guys, I'm gonna say that fixed. By putting that row of fingers down there, that fixed it from the head or the legs or wing getting between the plate and the barrel. But now you did hear that the motor's weak, but it never did choke down and stop. So yes, the motor is weak. If I ever come across another motor or this one totally stops, I'll change the motor out. But as of right now, that done good enough for me. I'm just happy that that fixed the issue. And like I said, I seen it yesterday, cause a couple times when I was pulling that chicken out, you know, I see I'm like, its leg was hung down behind there. But when I watched that video last night, I was watching every time that it totally choked down, it's because it was hung up in there. Now this is the difference between just a laying hen, and like I said, guys, this dang chicken here is going on 3 years old, so it'd be tough to eat. It'd have to be a crock pot if you wanted to eat it. But that's just a laying chicken. And even my other ones out there, they look big and fluffy, but when you get the feathers off of them, that's about what size chicken you're gonna get out of Rhode Island Reds and stuff. Now yeah, you could fatten them up and get a little more meat on them, but it's still, that ain't near about the prettiest chicken as that Bresse chickens were yesterday. But who knows, I may go on since I got this plucked and put it in a crock pot just to see if it can tender up enough to eat. So now with that being said, is a chicken plucker worth building? I would say the only way a chicken plucker is worth building, if you happen to be like me and didn't have to buy nothing but the fingers, maybe the belt like I did. But if you got to buy everything, you ain't got the metal or wood to do it. You got to buy the pillow block bearings, you got to buy the belt, you got to buy aluminum plate or some kind of plate for your spinner. You got to buy a motor. Guys, you might as well just buy you a chicken plucker. You can watch them yard birds. And there's other brands. Bevo makes one. You can get them, you watch them, you can get them for like $350. Well, you add all this up, you're going to have the same amount of money, if not more, in building one. But now, if you got the stuff like I did to build a plucker, by all means, build it. Because I think right now, as long as I'm using this myself and don't let nobody else, I can sit here, if I see the motor getting choked down, turn it off, I'll probably make this motor last a lot of years. So that is plucking chickens mighty fine. So now that I turned this into a 2-day show, we're going to end this video here because I know it's going to be a little long. But guys, I just want to say, if you ain't never subscribed to my channel, please reach down there and hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. It don't cost you a thing. And you never know what you might see me doing. But as always, I appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a great day. God bless. See y'all next time.